Hello, hello. Going again with The One and Only Bob by Katherine Applegate. We're going to do a quick little review of what you guys read. Well, I guess it would be last week because when you are listening to this, it's going to be on Monday. So we started last week with a chapter called CPR, and that was when Officer Williams was asking everybody that was around if they knew CPR for gorilla, right? Whenever you're trying to get air into the lungs. And nobody does, and then all of a sudden, Ivan's fingers are, they see them moving, they see them not moving, and then they're trying to pull all the rubble off with, a car and different vehicles, and there's a ton of people, everybody's around, and, when all this is off, they see, Bob says he sees this big mound, this big gorilla mound just laying there, and then all of a sudden, it's a miracle, this mound just sits up. And then what does he do when he sits up? He kind of coughs, he kind of shakes, he's like, oh, I'm all right, okay, cool, I'm good. And then all of a sudden, he's holding a banana and eats the banana, right? I mean, because he's Ivan, so he's gonna eat his banana, right? Then we've got people running everywhere. We've got people with guns. We've got people with tranquilizer guns. We have wolves that have gotten out of their enclosures as well. So there's some more dangerous type of animals that are out there talking about, not knowing where any of these are. And Kimu, the wolf, is out, and they are looking at possibly, because he comes towards the people, and so they are trying to figure out if they're going to use the tranquilizer gun or what they're going to do with him. Over the radio, Officer Williams' radio, the police officer, Bob hears them talking about the flooded animal shelter, and in the background, every time this animal shelter comes over the radio, Bob hears this bark. And the first time he's like, oh, that's kind of weird. But then like the second, third time he hears this bark, he's like, oh, no, that's, what is that? He's very curious. He says some barks you never forget, right? And he says, I know what I have to do. There's one place that I need to go, one thing that I need to do. And Maya and Sarah, the humans, they're still looking for George and Joy. I haven't found them yet. And Sarah picks up Bob, which he doesn't really like. And he has a split second to jump out of her arms and run before they lock him up in the office, in Maya's office. And he runs, and he tells Ivan and Ruby, I gotta go, I'll be back, but I got something I gotta do. He doesn't wait for anybody to answer. He's off. He says, I'm off into the wild, into the world filled with wind and rain, with wolves and alligators, with a voice that could rip my heart in two. Okay, so now we're gonna look at part 3. Sorry, that was a very quick little review. So this chapter starts off, it's called Looking, part 3. Ivan used to ask me what I did when I wasn't hanging out at the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. I wasn't like the rest of the animals, caged, trapped. I told him I was scrounging for food, and he never questioned it. When you think about it, though, where's a better place to find food than the floor of a mall at the end of the day? Yeah, I wasn't looking for food. I was looking for her. Who do you think her is? I was looking for her, for Boss. Boss is his sister. What if? At first, I didn't admit it to myself. You know how it is when you wish for something so bad you're afraid to say it out loud. Because what if it never happens? It was like that. I knew the odds were crazy long. I knew I was nuts, and yet I went out day after day searching for her. 6. There had been 6 of us in the litter. So why was I only looking for her? Because it was her bark that I heard. After that box landed, even after the truck roared past, I heard it. A whimper, bark, howl, cry, something I have never heard since. She survived. At least at first. I survived. But the rest of them didn't. Relieved. And what did I do? When I heard that bark, did I run toward it? Did I try to find her? Did I save her? No. I was just a few weeks old and was helpless and useless. The cries stopped almost as soon as they'd started, and you know what? Part of me was relieved. I didn't want to have to go back onto that highway. I couldn't bear wanting to rescue her and not knowing how. I didn't want to see her die, but mostly, I was afraid. Coward. I was afraid. A coward. There's a certain freedom that comes with owning your faults. The wind. Every day I went looking for Boss, up and down that same barren stretch of highway. Sometimes I'd catch a hint of something hopeful on the air and think it was my sister's scent. I'd be certain the breeze had brought me to her voice like an invisible gift. The wind can really mess with your head. Enough. After a while, I stopped going to the highway, stopped looking. It was a relief to give up. I had enough to worry about. My paddles. As I run from the park, I keep hearing my sister's yelp in my head. Still, with every step, my doubts grow. Sometimes we hear what we want to hear. The animal shelter is close, just down the street, but there's nothing quick about the trip. Water rushes past like a raging river. The sun's been swallowed by black clouds. I pick my way through muddy front yards, avoiding the worst of the water. I ain't much of a swimmer. Doesn't come up much in my line of work, though I do a passable dog paddle. The problem is my paddles. My paws are tiny, not much to work with when you're fighting a flood. I see a couple of humans with flashlights carving tunnels in the sheets of rain, but mostly the streets seem eerily abandoned, especially after the chaos of the park. The shelter is at the bottom of a slight hill. Rain's pooled outside the front door despite a pile of sodden sandbags. A police car is out front, parked in an odd angle. I find some footing on a large rock near the door. It takes me 3 slippery tries, but I manage to leap up onto the topmost sandbag. I bark with all I've got, but I might as well be voiceless because the wind and the rain and the howling animals begging for escape. Inside. I pause to listen. I hear humans shouting, and I can make out what sounds like a police radio chatter. But I don't hear Boss. I'm right here, right at the source, and nothing. It wasn't her bark I heard. She's dead, and I'm crazy, and I'm hearing things, and drenched and shivering, and where's Julia? Where's George? Hey, little guy. The door eases open, just a crack. Every bone in my body, every smart part of my doggy brain says, run. This is an animal shelter, a flooding one. Apparently my sister isn't here, and I still have to find George and Julia. The door moves. Swoop. The loop comes down around my neck so fast that for a moment I don't know what it is. It's like a cowboy's lasso, the kind in an old Western movie that I used to watch with Ivan. But this lasso is at the end of a long metal handle. And stay calm, buddy, the man eases me, gently but firmly, off the sandbags and through the door. I'm inside the Bow Wow Big House. A hound pound, the pet pokey. Oops. Now he's where he doesn't want to be. The return of Snickers. The man pulls me along with his lasso. I decide not to argue. We are a small room stacked with animal-filled metal cages, and I'm assaulted by howls and hisses. The cold water on the floor sloshes as we walk, just skimming my belly. As bad as my smeller is, I instantly pick up on one distinctive odor. It's like the world's worst perfume, the kind old ladies emit, the kind people spray on their dogs to camouflage their lovely dog stink, the kind Snickers wears. I catch a glimpse of her in an upper cage, bedraggled down in her droopy hair. Snick baby, fancy meeting you here, I say. You look good behind bars. Harebrain, she replies. Hey, calls the rabbit 2 cages down. What's your language? Mac couldn't deal with you? I asked Snickers. He brought me here because he thought it would be safer. Seems he may have been mistaken, I say. Carefully grabbing my scuff, Cowboy lifts me into an upper cage. He pulls the lasso loose and shuts the barbed door. I am not happy, but it is a relief to be out of that noose. The lasso. Oh great, another one? Calls a woman wearing tall rubber boots. She pauses in the doorway. I thought we were turning people away. People, yes, says Cowboy. But this pup came solo. Tick-tock, folks, says an older, ruddy-faced officer. He's holding a radio in one hand and a flashlight in the other. You are running out of time. We hear you, but first we've got to move everybody who's lower level. Boots sighs. Last hurricane, we had 2 feet to deal with. I swear they're getting worse. Climate change, says the officer. What are you going to do? Ugh, more than we're doing, says Boots. That much is for sure. I'll move the dogs from room 2, Cowboy offers. There are only a couple at the bottom level. We are out of cages, though. We'll have to double up. Put that little female in with the new guy, says Boots. They look like twins. I'm shivering, and it's not because I'm cold. I press my hurt nose to the metal bars. I smell something. I do. I hear something. I do. Cowboy returns. Dog in arms. A bark. That bark. The door to my cage opens. Hey, I say automatically, even as my heart is already whispering the truth to me. They call me Bob. They call me Boss, says the voice. But by now I know, of course I know. And I am howling with joy. Look. See them right up there? Here they are. Boss and Bob. Alive. Thunder claps, shutters fly, windows rattle, water rushes, dogs whimper, cats howl, people yell. And all I can hear is my sister's voice. Catching up. We lick each other, sniff, yelp, circle, wrestle. Neither of us was ever the touchy-feely sort, but sometimes you gotta let it all out. Wow, says Cowboy watching us. You think they knew each other? Tough. Boss isn't anything like I remember. She's scrawny and flea-covered. Her left ear has a big notch in it. Her fur is dull, her body scarred, and her tail cut short. I'm afraid to ask how that happened. She's clearly had it tough, really tough. I thought I heard your bark, I say, but then it stopped. I figured I was just crazy. I was napping. In this chaos? I ask. Yep, I can sleep anywhere. It's a gift. Boss nibbles on a toenail. Funny thing is, I was having a dream about you. Must have caught a whiff of you in my sleep. I can't stop staring. Boss, here, with me. What? She asks when she catches me looking at her. Well, I was just wondering, I say, about your life. Do you have, anybody? You mean like humans? Nope. She gives a little flick of her stubby tail. Never have, never will. You've been out on your own this whole time? I flash on my cushy bed, my lovely food bowl, the way everyone knows just how I like my ear scratches. Yep. Well, how'd you end up here? I was out scrounging for food, just had another litter, and I was tired. I was off my game. Animal control got me. She licks a nasty cut on her front paw. Wait. My ears prick up. So, you have puppies? That would make me an uncle, a dog uncle, on top of being an honorary elephant uncle. Yep, had the last batch 7, maybe 8 weeks ago, she says, as she scratches a flea. Last batch, I repeat? You mean you've had others? Yep. What happened to them? I don't know. It's not like they come home for the holidays, Bob. Boss lies down on the old towel lining our cage. Or should I call you Rowdy, she considers. Nope. I like the sound of Bob. Me too. Anyway, Boss says, mostly they're dead, I guess. You never know, though. Maybe a few of them got rescued. She's so matter-of-fact, so resigned. This last letter, well, I thought I was onto something. Found this little car, those ones that look like a big old bug, abandoned, right down by the creek near that bridge. Easy access through a hole in the floorboard. Blanket in the back seat. She pauses. All the amenities. How many puppies, I ask? 3, but only one survived, a male. The other 2 were pretty sickly and, well, We gotta get out of here. An orange-striped cat howls. He throws himself against the front of his cage and then pokes out his paw, grabbing for the latch. I'm too young to die, Kitty is saying. When they caught me, Boss continues, ignoring the cat, I barked for the puppy to sit tight and wait. I told him I'd be right back, she sighs. Nice. Last thing he'll ever hear was a lie. What's his name? The puppy. Well, she looks at me like I ask her if she's ever been to the moon. I don't name them, Bob. It just makes it harder. Below us, the water's rising, filling the empty lower cages. We watch the humans rush back and forth carrying buckets as if they can stem the tide. There's nothing to do, nothing to say, and now there's nowhere to go. Not right. I stare at my sister and try to imagine all the pain that she's endured. And here I thought I'd gotten the raw deal. To lose your pups, to wander alone, to struggle for every drop of water, every crumb of food? I mean, I experienced a little of that, but Ivan and Stella kept me going, and then Julia and her family. Why me? What's so special about me? Is it really that I'm just more resilient, that I've made my own luck? Am I somehow better than Boss? More deserving? It's not right, I blurt. Not right. You should have had it worse than me. Well, if you want to talk about not right, you and I both had it a whole lot better than our siblings, Boss says. I will never forgive those people for what they did to us, I say, through clenched jaws. Really? Boss seems surprised. If I held on to that much anger, I'd never get out of bed. Not that I've ever had a real bed. She sniffs at the towel beneath her feet. This towel's kind of nice, actually. I look at her in disbelief. You're one of those. Those dogs must forgive no matter what types. She looked amused. Well, it is kind of our thing, right? When someone does something hurtful, they have to admit it, I say. Then they have to be punished for it. And maybe then, if they apologize and change, maybe, then they get forgiven. All I know is I've done lots of bad stuff in my life, Bob. I've had to forgive myself plenty. Just, to get through the day. Boss gazes at me with her wise, weary eyes. And I figure if I'm going to forgive myself, I'd better be ready to cut everyone else some slack too. Some very wise words. Forgiveness. Evacuate now. Look, says the officer, you need to evacuate now. It's mandatory. Well, we can't just leave these animals. Cowboy sticks his finger in the orange cat's cage. The cat rubs up against it, purring like his life depends on it, which it maybe kind of does. The officer sighs. You don't have a choice. We can't just leave them, says Boots, and I have to applaud her enthusiasm, even as I wonder why she'd risk her life for us. There is no explaining humans. Just got word the bridge over Big Fort Creek collapsed. You guys have got to move, says the officer. Boots snaps her fingers. Wait, you have a cop car, right? Yes, I have a vehicle, ma'am, says the officer, but the way the roads are looking, probably not for long. Okay, says Boots, so we evacuate. We evacuate every last dog and cat and gerbil that we can get into your car. The officer purses his lips. And take them where exactly? Shelter at the high school. That's where we've been sending people. They're not really set up for it, but once we started flooding and the elementary school stopped taking pets, they agreed to do what they could. The officer grumbles and considers it and goes for it. The three humans load cats and dogs, parakeets and hamsters, one after another, into the police car. Some are in cages and some, including a couple of very unhappy cats, are on tug-of-war strings. Finally, it's our turn. Looks like there are 9 of us left. Car's full and then some. We're officially out of room, says the officer. Cowboy looks at us, his eyes teary. Don't worry, fellas, we'll be back. He sniffles. I promise. You think we should leave the cages open, at least to give them a fighting chance, asked Bob, in case, Sure, but they couldn't handle this current. I can barely stand up. Cowboy shakes his head. Look, I'll borrow my brother's bass boat. We'll come right back. Hopefully the water won't get much higher than this. Okay then. Boots gives a grim nod. Stay calm, friends. Like that's an option. All right. We are going to stop there and we will read the next one tomorrow. Bye, guys.